Most of us do it, a number of us do it over others, and most of us despise it. Throughout those heavenly hours, once we enter sleep mode, some weird and wonderful things occur to us. Sleep is the last frontier, a place where dreams burst into existence, but plus a place where strange and sometimes dangerous things occur. Since you'll find out today, there's a lot more to sleeping than you think, and it's only actually in the past couple of decades that we've begun to comprehend the significance of getting fantastic slumber. Without further ado, welcome to the Sleep Zone. 50. If you go without sleep, it's known as sleep deprivation, and you can start to feel cranky and nervous if you go only 24 hours with no dose. Go 48 hours, and you will become very fatigued. At this time, you might have something known as micro-sleeps, so falling off without even knowing it for only a minute or two. Move 72 hours, and it's likely you have trouble concentrating and might begin to get paranoid. Ask any methamphetamine fiend what happens to them after a couple of times insufflating crystals. After the 3-day mark, there's a chance you may suffer from bouts of psychosis. 49. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 1 in 3 Americans don't get enough sleep. Scientists think most humans need at least 7 hours of sleep, but many people don't get almost that much. 48. Back in 1987, a man named Kenneth Parks got in his car and drove approximately 12 miles, 20 kilometers, to his mother-in-law's house. Then he entered the home and bludgeoned his mother-in-law to death with a soldering iron. Then, he tried to strangle his father-in-law, but he failed in killing him. Covered in blood, Parks drove to the police station and told the cops he could have just killed 2 people. He didn't go to prison because of his crime, since it was believed he had committed the act while sleepwalking. 47. In 2005, a 15-year-old woman in England went for a walk while she had been sleepwalking. She actually managed to scale up the 130-foot, 40 meters, crane. There she remained before a firefighter climbed up the crane and rescued her. The girl was still sleeping when he got to her. Obviously, she was quite confused, having gone to bed in her bed and woken up in the very top of a crane. Just imagine if this happened to you. 46. Plenty of studies have been done so we can better comprehend fantasies. One strange thing about fantasies is the fact that something like 12% of people reports they just dream in black and white. Why? We don't exactly know. We know that a lot more Americans previously dreamed in black and white. The main reason behind that is that the TV was black and white. 45. According to the National Sleep Foundation, only 1 in 4 married couples in the USA really share the identical bed. The breakup isn't always because the couple has dropped out of love or else they assert too far, it's more likely to be since they disturb each other's sleep routines. 44. Some people simply cannot appear to escape bed in the daytime. Some struggle, but others really feel like they just can't make a move. There is a word for this, and it's called dysania. There are a range of reasons that this can happen, and it could simply be that the individual is not getting enough quality sleep. It might also be related to anxiety or depression. It's not a medical condition per se, but a few people can have chronic dystonia. Some sufferers have been known to remain in bed for days on end. 43. Some individuals are born blind, so you may wonder what they dream about since they've not visualized the world. Nicely, blind people's fantasies tend to be about the other senses, such as taste and odor and sounds, but there is proof that some blind people can have visual fantasies, also. Studies have also found that people who have been born blind often have more nightmares than people who can see. These might be about the feeling of falling or becoming lost. 42. Some people claim never to dream at all, but that is just because they seldom, if ever, wake up throughout their REM part of sleep. This is when the brain is actively dreaming, and self-professed non-dreamers that were woken up during REM sleep admitted they were dreaming. 41. It appears they do because scientists have looked at dogs' brains' electrical action while they were sleeping. Some of those scientists stated that the average-sized dog would begin to dream following about 20 minutes of sleep. At this time, You need to be able to find the rapid eye movements of their dog. Okay, so you may now ask, do puppies sleepwalk, too? It seems that the answer is not any, although they may flop around a little while they are sleeping. It's unlikely that one day you'll discover your dog at the peak of a crane, fast asleep. 40. We don't know where the myth originated, but a few people today hold the belief that should they happen to die in their dream, they would die in real life. Simply put, this is hogwash. A lot of people have reported dying in a dream, and they live to tell the narrative. 39. Humans are the only creature that deliberately guarantees their sleep. 38. According to the National Sleep Foundation, the body does not adjust to change work. On its own site, the organization says that people who work shifts and alter their sleep pattern a lot are more likely to later develop diseases, like cardiovascular and gastrointestinal diseases. 37. Around 90 million Americans snore, and 37 million of these people do it on a standard basis. 36. Some people claim they don't sleep much at all, and some of them are pretty well known. Donald Trump wrote in his book, "Think Like a Billionaire, Don't Sleep Any Over You Have To." I usually sleep around 4 hours each night. Well, he paid someone to write that in a publication for him. Additional reports say he sleeps about 6 hours a night, which would be the same as Elon Musk. In actuality, we found plenty of reports saying that many CEOs and famous people only sleep between 4 and 6 hours every night. Now let's get odd. The best is yet to come. 35. There's a guy in the UK by the name of Lee Hadwin. He's been painting in his sleep since he was 4, and as an adult, he carried on doing it. He's been known as the sleepwalking artist and has made a lot of money out of selling his artworks. He goes to bed, and when he wakes up, there is sometimes a drawing or painting facing him. He explained when he was 15 years old, he woke up and found that he'd attracted a great image of Marilyn Monroe. The thing was, in his waking life, that he had no talent at all for drawing. Some of his paintings are sold for 6 figures, and even Donald Trump has purchased among them. He's made a lot of cash and kind of put no effort into it. Hadwin's skills have baffled scientists, and nobody really knows how he manages to do his works while asleep. Some folks have said he is a fraud, although experts in the Edinburgh Sleep Clinic witnessed him sleepwalking, and they say he is the real deal. 34. Most men and women tend to fall asleep after approximately 7 to 15 minutes of trying, although anyone who's suffered from insomnia or stress will tell you it may take them hours to locate slumberland. 33. On the flip side, if you're the kind of person who falls asleep as soon as your head hits the pillow, then it is likely you are sleep deprived. 32. You'll be able to discover recent posts in the media that inform you that approximately 9 million individuals from the US take a sleeping medicine, even though the information cited is CDC research that's now a decade old. Still, we found more tales speaking about Americans' problem of falling asleep. It does really seem that millions of adults are taking medicine for sleeping, or drugs to decrease tension and anxiety. The disadvantage of this is a few side effects and also dependence on the medication. With some drugs, there is something called a rebound effect, thus, if the individual tries to quit, they may experience worse anxiety, or sleeplessness. 31. The younger you are, the further you sleep. Babies usually sleep 14 to 17 hours per day, and they usually don't have an issue dozing off. 14 to 17-year-olds usually sleep anywhere from 7 to 11 hours every day. Based on Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital, it is important that younger folks do this extra sleep compared to adults, who can get by on 7 hours. Parents shouldn't nag if their adolescent likes to invest, say, 10 hours of sleep. However, according to the CDC, 2 to 2/3 school students are not getting enough sleep, especially on school nights. 30. 20% of American adults reach the booze before bedtime, and if you've ever done that, you will understand it can help you fall asleep. But can it be good for you, in the feeling of sleep, not exactly what it really does to your organs? The experts tell us that a drunk sleep might not be the best sleep since the alcohol can prevent you from having those good REM sleeps. You might also wake up in the middle of the night and not have the ability to return to sleep back again. A spoonful of beer may also lead to a lot of trips to the bathroom throughout the night. Also, as a number of you know, drunk sleepers tend to snore. That's because the booze has relaxed their throat muscles, and because drunk sleepers tend to sleep on their backs. 29. A new study has demonstrated that more individuals are currently texting in their sleep, particularly individuals who has grown up with a mobile phone. This really is a really modern parasomnia, which means sleep disorder. However, it is a good excuse if you have texted something you regret in the morning. In case your partner finds out that you have texted an old fire, you now know exactly what to say. My adore, it was merely a sleep text, totally, my control. Now for something really wacky. 28. We imagine that only a couple of you guys watching this movie has awakened in the center of the night with a raging hunger. You've gone to the kitchen, raided the refrigerator, and left a trail of destruction supporting you. However, how a lot of you have done this while still sleeping? You might have experienced something called nocturnal eating syndrome, however in a sleep-related eating disease. Individuals who have suffered from this have sometimes raided the kitchen several times in only one nighttime, but they didn't remember a thing the next day. It sounds funny, but NES can be dangerous as eating while still asleep can result in choking or having a crash. In extreme cases, people have been known to put on plenty of weight, while some people have fired up the stove and produced a complex meal. Others have eaten items like salt sandwiches, raw meats, frozen food, and would you think it, buttered smokes. 27. Arguably greater than that is something known as exploding head syndrome. These folks might be on the cusp of sleep when suddenly they hear a loud explosion, or hear the sound of bullets or fantastic claps of thunder. It freaks them out to state the last, particularly if the sound is accompanied by flashes of light. The fantastic news is that it's not dangerous. Nobody really understands why it happens. It may be related to difficulties with the ear, nerve dysfunction, a minor seizure, or merely your regular stress. 26. Driving while feeling tired may result in accidents. With the CDC expression in the United States alone lately years, thousands of deadly crashes happen because someone nodded away behind the wheel or has been very near it. The numbers differ depending on what your source you are reading, but everyone agrees that driving while really fatigued is a lousy idea. In one poll, 37% of people confessed they had fallen asleep while driving at least once in their life. 25. Is good for you? NASA desired to understand this since it wanted to see if napping improved the performance of its pilots. The agency reasoned that the perfect nap should last 26 minutes. This helps enhance alertness and decrease stress. Keeping this in mind, if you ever end up in a position in which you have to drive a long distance or you have to do something significant if you're feeling tired, you should find a suitable place to take a nap. This might enhance your performance and keep you concentrated. 24. Based on some studies, it is a myth that it is possible to catch up on sleep. Some people might think, if I sleep only a couple of hours on Monday and Tuesday, I will grab up those lost hours later weekly. Harvard Medical School said this is not the case. Its study demonstrated that individuals who frequently have nights of little sleep would constantly endure in the end. 23. Exercise helps you fall asleep easier and also enables you to sleep better throughout the night. Why, however, you may ask? Well, scientists tell us that exercise releases endorphin in our brains, and this can reduce strain and depression. Actually, studies have shown that if individuals experiencing insomnia did 4 weeks of the exercise, they slept better and were less stressed in general. The matter was, though, the fantastic sleep did not come instantly. Participants had to put some effort into it. 22. Almost half of Americans sleep wrapped up in the fetal position, so it appears we've got a fondness for how we kicked back in our mother's womb. Back sleeping is the second most common and following that stomach sleeping. Then some individuals unite different sleeping places. Some study informs us that sleeping on your spine is the best place to promote decently health, although it may depend on if you have particular health problems. 21. We normally dream 4 to 6 times throughout the night, and as you'll soon find out, this is sometimes an issue. 20. A number of you may know that one of the scariest things that may happen to you through sleep is dreaming that you're awake. Such a false awakening may indicate you get up, go downstairs, have a drink of orange juice, and then suddenly, you realize something is not right. Then you might wake up for real, frequently with your heart thumping. Even worse is the fact that some individuals have woken up with a shock and then seen a seesaw standing. That is a dream in a dream, and then the individual might wake up for real. All these are known as multiple false awakenings, that has been called a Russian doll of dreaming. That's scary. 19. Many folks can dream, and while they do not wake up, they are aware they are dreaming. All these are called lucid dreams. You may even have the ability to give yourself superpowers in these dreams, like the guy who states when he is being chased at a nightmare sometimes, he just has to choose to run backward and he shoots like a rocket. Why do we lucid dream? It's likely, as part of the brain called the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex is partially switched on during sleep, usually isn't. This part of the brain deals with planning, working memory, and considering numerous concepts. At a lucid dream, the person subsequently becomes conscious enough to understand their dreaming, although not aware enough, they awaken. That's one theory, anyway. 18. So, which nation's citizens get the best sleep? We found some data, and it seems that people from New Zealand, on average, sleep the maximum hours. The Netherlands, Finland, Britain, and Australia were not far behind, and the US had been somewhere in the center. The worst sleeping state was Japan, followed by South Korea and then Saudi Arabia. 17. According to the National Sleep Foundation, only 8% of Americans sleep completely naked, while a whopping 1/3 of British people sleep in the buff. 16. There's not any proof that eating cheese can give you nightmares, but if you head to bed on a full stomach, it might influence your sleeping routine. It can make you restless as your body digests the food, and so you might wake up more during REM sleep. 15. Around 1.4% of people sleep with their eyes open, a state is known as nocturnal lagophthalmos. It only means that they cannot shut their eyelids during sleep, with some people sleeping with their eyes completely open, and others simply partially open. They have no idea they're doing it because they're asleep, but it looks pretty freaky to other people. There are other explanations for why someone may sleep with their eyes open, relating mostly to disorder, trauma, and autoimmune problems. 14. In 2010, a man named Gregory Meccan said he had been kicked off a U.S. Airways flight since that he had been caught sleeping with his eyes open. He had fallen asleep before the plane had taken off, however when one of that cabin the team saw him sleeping with his eyes open. She believed he was sick and asked if anybody on board could help. There was actually a nurse on the plane, but she didn't have a clue why somebody would sleep with their eyes open. She'd not heard of nocturnal lagophthalmos, and while Mackin explained that he frequently slept in this manner, in the end, the team decided he was not fit to fly. He wasn't pleased about it at all. Okay, coming to the top 13. Today we have some really odd things to tell you. 13. You cannot sneeze when you are sleeping. 12. Studies have proven that people have a better night's sleep when there's a complete moron. Why that occurs is perplexing, but the obvious answer could be because of the light of the moon. That doesn't seem to be the case, however, since when scientists in Switzerland watched people as they slept through a full moon, the subjects were literally kept in the dark. They were kept in the dark, also, because they had no clue what the experiment was about. The scientists discovered that if the moon was full, on average the people spent 30% less time in deep sleep and slept less time all around. Additionally, it required them longer to fall asleep. Some scientists believe that people are naturally attuned to the moon cycle, and that's why its fullness influences our sleep. More studies have been undertaken, with mixed results. One study revealed kids slept longer during a full moon, but another demonstrated again that adults slept less. 11. Back when the British were leading the Industrial Revolution, a new project came onto the scene so that the people got to the factories in time. This project was known as a knocker-upper. For a few pennies a week, some guy would come around to employees' homes and knock on their doorways, or windows, or use a pea shooter to strike the higher-level windows. From the 19th century, the author Charles Dickens wrote about this job, but knocker-uppers were still about from the 1970s. The very first personal alarm clock was invented in 1787, but we suspect not everybody in Britain's industrial cities had one. 10. Things can turn nasty if you wake someone up who is experiencing something called sleep terrors, or night terrors. All these are very intense nightmares. Luckily, only around 1% of adults suffer from regular night terrors. Terrors someone might thrash around a bit or shout out, the person beside them will generally be harmed. That isn't necessarily true, though, and we discovered instances when people had assaulted their spouse during a night terror. Throughout the frenzy, the dreamer might also hurt themselves. That is the way one woman described how her husband would sometimes behave during sleep. He seems to have the strength of 10 men and shoots up from the bed onto the bed's feet in one movement. He's landed clear across the area on several occasions and has pulled down drapes, upset lamps, etc. He has grabbed me and pulled me, hurting my arms. There are many reasons why someone may have night terrors, from substance abuse to childhood trauma to PTSD, to a family history of parasomnia. 9. According to the National Sleep Foundation, you must wash that pillow of yours at once every 6 months, and you should replace it after a year or two. The reason is dust mites. These little fellas can impair breathing and worsen allergies. 8. Infants are just another thing that really gets in the way of a good night's sleep. It's reported that a new man in the home is going to result in 400 to 750 hours of lost sleep for parents. Important global events can make many people have a lousy night's sleep. 7. A large event might have this effect for several months, as a lot of individuals have undergone during the coronavirus pandemic. Additional key sleep disturbers have been the 9/11, the Challenger space shuttle disaster and the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. Whenever it's a good idea to know about current events, we can certainly consume an excessive amount of news. Occasionally you need to tune out and just be in the moment. 6. When your anxiety levels are high, the hormone corticosteroid can adversely affect the effectiveness of the immune system. A vicious cycle that can happen is a person is stressed and thus sleeps less, then the following day the lack of sleep means that they deal with anxiety worse. They might then sit in front of the TV watching news websites that seem disgusting. This creates stress, which generates sleeplessness in a repeating cyclical pattern. 5. Some people dread going to bed and falling asleep, a condition called somnophobia. One victim in the UK explained it like this: "I'd stay up listening to my mum snoring just to ensure that she was alive. I was petrified that when I slept, something bad might happen, and I wouldn't be awake to help." A number of those people might fear the loss of control they have during sleep, or else they might fret about what could happen while they are unconscious. Some sufferers have stated the fear comes from having experienced night terrors or bouts of sleepwalking, while others a traumatic event previously caused the dread of the mattress. Okay, we are getting to the end now, but there's still so much more to tell you about sleep. 4. 5 to 7 million children in the US wet the bed, although by the time kids get to the age of 10 just about 2 to 3% of them wet the bed. One analysis we found said that 1 in 50 teenagers in the US wets the bed. Okay, so why do some folks wet the bed in the first place? It could be several things, such as the child having a smaller than average kidney or the truth that both his parents were bedwetters. It may also be because they have lower than average levels of the hormone vasopressin, or simply the truth that their sleep is just too heavy. Anxiety and infections may also be a reason. 3. According to the experts, counting sheep for a way to fall asleep is futile. 2. Some studies have proven that if you regularly sleep well, you may deal with pain better. In those studies, the scientists allowed participants to sleep a certain number of hours. When they were later tested to see how they coped with the pain, the men and women who had slept more seemed to feel less, so much so it was like they'd shot codeine. 1. Finally, we'll tell you about the horror of something called fatal insomnia. This is a rare disorder, thank God, which impacts the brain. It occurs due to a tiny genetic mutation from the brain, but that mutation punctually will mean the victim will find it very hard to sleep. Insomnia will get worse and worse, and this will lead to hallucinations, delirium and, ultimately, death. It may take many years for the individual to show some symptoms, but once they do, there is no going back. Over a period of weeks the person will suffer from terror attacks, which will lead to paranoia, and then the hallucinations will occur. Next will come to the weight loss. Finally, when the patient has not slept for quite a very long time, they'll become unresponsive. It could happen when the person is as youthful 18, or it may not occur until they're within their 60s. There is no cure for this horrible disease, and even the strongest sleeping pills or other sedatives don't appear to help. It is just one long, agonizing nightmare, so we could be glad that just around 40 families are known to carry this gene. We hope you are learning something new every day from our videos. If you want us to cover a specific topic, let us know in the comments section below. We are doing our bit to spread awareness about the common health conditions and exciting topics. Do your part by sharing this video with your friends and social circle. Thank you. Get value by subscribing our Get Value channel. Thank you.